So live streaming is about to start. We're just holding Micromax drivers on the grid until the link is ready. Should just be seconds away. So, live streaming is now active. You can get the address details by visiting the YouTube account of OAA, Oman Automobile Association. I believe that Lalaine has shared that link to both the UAE Rotax Max Challenge Facebook page and also the Al Ain Raceway Facebook page. So senior officials now in a position to send our Micromax competitors onto the grid. Now, if you're just joining us from all over the world, a very, very warm welcome to Muscat Speedway here in the centre of Muscat at the headquarters of Oman Automobile Association. We are live at the pre-finals and finals of the UAE and Oman Rotax Max Challenge event. This is round 6 of the championship, and we have a number of classes and loads of exciting action to bring you today. We're starting with Micromax. Micromax drivers aged 8 to 11, and they're just on their formation lap, about to come round to the start. I hope you're able to follow the pictures with us, not just the audio. My feed seems to have a little bit of an issue, which means I can just pop up the stairs and have a look out of the window. So here we come. We've got Adam Al-Azhari and Christopher El-Faghali on the front row. They're coming into the tram lines. There seems to be a mad guy flapping his arms around. That's the guy in charge of the event, and it looks like one of the drivers, driver number 12, possibly moving outside the tram lines before the start signal was given. That could involve a penalty later on, but we're underway for the first of our pre-finals today. So this circuit configuration here at Muscat Speedway is the national circuit. It's not the longest possible configuration. It is a nice fast one, quite technical, very undulating as well. I don't know if you can get that perception from where you are viewing at home. It's a very quick lap. We're sort of well under 50 seconds for all the categories here. And it's Christopher El-Faghali and Benjamin Wade that have got ahead of Adam Al-Azhari, who's been in front all morning. We'll mention all of the drivers as we go through the day. There's around about 60 drivers here today from the local region, a couple of international drivers as well. So they come into my vantage point, and that does look like Christopher El-Faghali has cemented his lead there. Benjamin Wade holding second. Adam Al-Azhari will be keen to get back up to first place, which is where he started the pre-final. Next in line, local driver Thomas Frost, Muscat Speedway, his local circuit. He's been driving fantastically well, competing very favourably against the championship contenders who are currently ahead in this race. Got 11 drivers on the grid here this afternoon. It's just after midday, 12:05 local time here in Muscat. And again, the lead three a bit closer together though this time, in the same order. We can see that Benjamin and Adam have just closed a little bit on Christopher, and they'll continue to do so towards the end of the straight. It doesn't mean that their engine is faster, but the slipstream effect that you get from following another car does help you at the end of the straights at higher speeds. So Thomas on his own. Then we've got Ayman Jaridi. Now Ayman is one of our less experienced drivers in terms of racing, but a lot of track knowledge here, and he's had a fantastic performance so far in this pre-final, moving right up to 5th place and leading the long train of karts back down to, there we can see, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th. All in contention there. And here come our top three again. Again, very, very close together. Adam certainly a little bit closer to Ben, and he's moving to the inside to set up an overtaking opportunity. And it looks like that's come off, but Ben tucks in behind him, and now he'll try to come back at Adam towards the end of the start straight. No, he thinks again. Actually, he wants to help Adam get closer to the race leader. It's a three-car fight. They don't want to let anyone get away on their own at the front. Keep the pressure on. Our next category in terms of the track action is Junior Max, and all the karts already on the grid. You may see those on the camera shortly. So my screen feed has come back. Now it's gone off. So I'll return to the track. A few issues. Hopefully you're not having that similar issue at home. It's just me, but now Christopher, Adam and Ben, these three. Thomas on his own, still in 4th, and here comes Eamon. Eamon just ahead of Shivali. It's our leading lady driver, who is in turn ahead of Adam as they cross the line. Adam Jones, a number of these drivers, all local, living in Muscat and competing at their home track. Most of them also visiting the neighbouring regions, some very impressive tracks in the region. Of course, this is one of them. So it's Adam this time. He lined up a move on Benjamin last time, and it looks like it could be a carbon copy. Can he make it stick though? Christopher allows him to move up the inside, but then takes a much wider line and better momentum and regains the position. Some good driving, very close, very fair at the moment. And Adam Al-Azhari last time with the fastest lap of the race of 48.1, very close to the drivers around him. So sadly, we appear to have lost one of the drivers from Micromax. Fahad Al-Rawahi has retired from the race by the looks of things, according to the timing screens anyway. So the top three come onto the final straight in the final order. We've got a yellow flag waving. In fact, we've got a couple of yellow flags waving here, so I'm not sure exactly what's gone wrong, but the yellow flag is warning approaching drivers that there is an incident, that they need to slow down. Well, the first three, excellent. You'll see the hands come up, and they did reduce speed. We can hear them lift off the throttle. Didn't really hear that from Thomas, but anyway. We saw the hand come up from Adam, but not much of a lift from him either. A few of the drivers further down the order doing a good job as well. Oh dear, Shivali's kart comes round, doesn't sound very good, and it looks a little bit battered. So perhaps there was an incident that I missed, that you guys and girls may have seen at home. Some TV feed, so we're following race leader Christopher El Fagali from Lebanon against Adam Al-Azhari, residing in the UAE. Benjamin Wade, also UAE resident. Our top three well clear at this time. So Adam trying all sorts of different lines to try and put some pressure on Christopher. Christopher resisting at the moment, looking over his shoulder. Just making sure he doesn't make it easy for Adam. They come down to the line again. Adam pulling out. The yellow flag is still waving, so there's no overtaking. That's a rule when the yellow flag is out, and the driver's doing well to obey those. They know that they could be penalised if they breach the yellow flag rules and compromise the safety of other competitors on the circuit. So now they continue. It's a fantastic section of the track uphill, a double fast right-hander, and into a couple of hairpins, and Adam sees an opportunity. Can Christopher come back at him? Yes, he can. This is going to compromise both of their exit speeds, and that could play into Ben's hands as they're into the back straight. Slipstream effect, the three of them all together. And no change in the racing order. We complete yet another lap. The last lap board has been shown, so these three know how much time is left, and they're coming up to some back markers here. That's Chevali with a dented-looking car, obviously involved in an incident earlier on, and the marshals may elect to wave some blue flags to her, which will alert her to the fact that the race leaders are approaching. There's not far left. Adam's swarming all over the back of Christopher, but Christopher wise to that one, and Chevali now onto the back straight and moving out of the way. Very, very sporting from Chevali there. Great driving, and there's a yellow flag, which means there should be no overtaking going on, but they're side by side. I'm not quite sure what they're thinking there, but what is clear is that Christopher El Faghali takes the win across the line with Adam Al-Azhari a very close second and Benjamin Wade third. I'm not quite sure of the reason for the yellow flag on the final corner, but the drivers are expected to obey those, so the senior officials may need to be having a bit of a chat to these drivers later on. So we were focusing on the front three on the live stream. I can tell you that Thomas Frost had a bit of a lonely race, but driving very well and holding on to fourth place right the way to the flag. Fantastic performance from him. If he keeps that up, he'll be just off the podium in the final. Adam Jones made good progress as well in the end, up to fifth position. Then Ahmed Al-Sessi finishing in sixth place. Just behind him, we had driver number 99. That's Krishna Vishnu. And Ayman Jaridi, we saw him really far up the order. He just lost a couple of places towards the latter part of the race. Ayman, driver number 73, finishing in eighth position. Then the last of our finishers, although we saw her just finishing a lap down on the leaders, Chevali Sinha. That's driver number 16. And sadly, two of our drivers not finishing the race. Driver number 5, Evan Clyde, and number 12, Fahad Al-Rawahi. Possibly Evan the reason for those yellow flags, but we hope he's okay and he's able to get whatever it is fixed to come through and take part in the final race.
No, this is
Okay, so the calm before the storm. Micro Max, the senior officials just dealing with whatever post-race activities and communications are needed. We're focusing now on the grid of Junior Max. They're sitting in the just outside the service park area, in the pre-grid holding area. You've got a great aerial view. What a great job the Muscat Speedway team have done in the presentation of the venue. It looks very, very impressive from that overhead drone shot. And our junior drivers always give the senior officials and the spectators a lot of work to do. So a lot of nail-biting stuff. We saw there was a race event yesterday that went down to the wire, and our two drivers that had got away at the front had an incident at the final corner, completely jumbled up the podium. So there's always a surprise waiting around the corner. So we do have some issues with the audio at the moment. Apologies for that. We'll try and get that resolved. Junior Max drivers now onto their formation lap. So can we have driver number 50, Adam Jones, and your entrant to see the steward, please? A little bit of a shout out to one of the Micromax drivers that needs to go and appear before the senior officials. Normally that means to explain himself. We're racing though on track. The camera is picking up the juniors crossing the line. And so we apologies for the interruption. So audio issues ongoing. We'll try and stay with the action that you can see on the screen. It's Khalid Saab leading the hotly contested Junior Max category in this pre-final ahead of Kamal Agha. Coming round to complete lap 3 already. Pre-finals are 14 laps. But that equates to around about 14 kilometres. This circuit layout around about 1 kilometre in length. And Khalid has been So apologies for the delay and the audio issues. We're back with the action. And we'll resume with no change in the race order between the front two anyway, but these two starting to pull away from the chasing pack. We've got Khalid and Kamal. They were quite far up the grid yesterday. Khalid particularly. Throughout the day had a bit of an issue at the last corner of the last lap, which actually enabled Kamal through to the victory. So Khalid will be looking to put that right today. These two championship contenders as well were into the 6th round today of an 8-round championship. So we're getting towards the business end, and they've got to have one idea on championship points as well as the outright race result. There are other drivers in slightly different situations who may be able to risk a little bit more to take the win, but they've got to get close to Khalid first, and that's proving pretty tricky, even for Kamal. These two then leading around to complete lap number 8 out of 14. Through they go again. We can see third, then a little bit of a space. It's Georgie Zuain currently occupying 3rd place. Anshul Gandhi, driver number 276, and Nadim Knissa, driver 204, locked in battle as they were in the earlier heat race. Both of them not giving an inch. Theo Kakati running in 6th ahead of Konstantin Reich. And as we get towards the latter stages of the top 10, we've got Ia Sez, Amirali Janidi, all the way from Iran. And Christian Clyde is 10th, that's driver 250, living locally here in Muscat, just ahead of Darshan. Driver number 263 is Darshan Damodaran, also living just round the corner from Muscat Speedway. So again, the camera is doing a good job of showing us just how close things are at the front. And yet, despite it being close, Kamal not quite close enough to be able to try out an overtaking move on our race leader. I can tell you that the driver with the fastest lap of the race is the driver in 2nd place, but he is still behind Khalid at the moment. Just having a quick check over his shoulder, make sure that Kamal's no closer than he was last time around. Both of these drivers very, very quick, very consistent. There's less than half a second between them, and they've got a 1.5 second advantage. In fact, it's a 1 second advantage back from Kamal to Georgie Zuain in 3rd position. Georgie actually normally supported in terms of each race meeting by his father. His father's stuck in Canada trying to sort his passport out, and Georgie, no surprise, doing a lot better without Ronald here to constantly whisper sweet nothings into his ear. Khalid though, another lap chalked off. We've got 4 to go after this one, and Kamal still keeping the pressure on. You can see Georgie there just starting to get caught a little bit by Anshul. Actually, he's not getting caught because he's just set, this is Georgie in 3rd place, the fastest lap of the race. There's 3 laps to go. A big shout out to Ronald Zuain, who's just sent me a WhatsApp message after hearing that Georgie's doing better without him, but I am right. So Georgie really starting to bring his lap times down at a critical stage in the race, but he's got to catch up the gap here. Well, relentless consistency from our top 2 here, and Kamal does look a fraction closer, but again, Khalid doing all he needs to do in the closing stages. Oh, now Kamal definitely is as close as he's been all race to our pre-final leader in the Junior Max category, and Khalid may come under some pressure in the final lap. Into the final corner, there's going to be 1 more lap to go. We can see the last lap board now being displayed by the start marshal, and Khalid just making sure he doesn't leave any unwanted openings for Kamal to dive into on the last lap. This is the crunch stage now. You can't really gauge the elevation change, but they dive up the hill. It's a long slog up the hill, and they come steaming around this double right-hander into a left-hand hairpin. You can see Khalid positioning his car in the middle of the track, and Kamal using the opportunity to go wide and get more momentum onto the back straight. Khalid looking, he's going to have to stay right here. He was on the other side of the... Oh dear, and that's a great move from Kamal, but Khalid keeping the momentum, and it's almost side by side across the line. A fantastic race, and Khalid Saab takes the win by 0.03 of a second. Georgie Zwain with the fastest lap closes to within a second of those two. He's definitely in the mix for the final as well. And Anshul Gandhi did fantastically to keep Nadim Knissa behind him. Theo just a couple of seconds adrift of those two, and managing to keep Konstantin behind him at the line. Konstantin Reich finishing in 7th position. Then we had Ia Sez finishing in 8th. Amirali Jonidi in 9th. And Christian Clyde finishing just ahead of Darshan Damodaran in 10th and 11th respectively. Well, good stuff from the juniors, and we often see some fantastic racing from them in the pre-final, only for it to get a little bit too much for them in the final. There'll be some fireworks, that's for sure, a little bit later on. The scheduled time for the final, by the way, for the Junior Max is 2:10. We're just coming up to 12:30 local time. So, we've already, it's good to see we've got an international audience. I'm already having some complaints and some feedback coming in from across the world. Georgie's father, Ronald Zwain, has sent me some messages to correct the information that I have. Apparently he does have a passport, he just doesn't have papers to get back into the country. And I understand that one of the other parents is responsible for that. Kamal's mum, Vicky. So that's worked out for her. It's also worked out for Georgie. Good performance from Khalid and Kamal and Georgie to finish 1st, 2nd and 3rd in the Junior Max race. Well, we saw bits and pieces of the Micro Max race earlier on, very, very close at the front, and we heard that there was some yellow flags come out. That was due to an incident, and I actually spoke to one of the injured parties in that one, little Evan Clyde. As he came out of the medical room, he was just telling me he was involved in an incident with both Eamon and Shivali, and maybe they're okay, but their carts need a little bit of TLC before they make their way back in the final. But it's good to hear that hopefully all those drivers will be back out with another chance in the final a little bit later on. So now, all of the karts that you see on the circuit now are from our Max category. So these are senior drivers. By senior, you can actually be a senior at 14 now, according to the CIK. So, but this is largely 15 years and upwards. A little bit more power than the junior category to run before. They have the addition of a power valve, but they are a little bit heavier. Okay, or their minimum weight is heavier in the class. And we saw a very, very close pre-final. I'm sorry, I've just been interrupted by the most important person in UK motorsport, and he's our chief steward this weekend, Mr. Daniel Parker, who would like to send a big kiss to his wife-to-be and girlfriend Michelle, who's watching the live streaming back at home. That's actually not the message, but I just dressed it up a little bit, and here we go, we're underway. Hamda Al-Khabaisi surprised Lachlan Robinson in the heat race and finished just ahead of him. And that means that for the start of the race, Lachlan Robinson starts on the less advantageous outside of the grid, and Abdul Rahman Frage, who finished 3rd in the heat race, has got the jump on Lachlan early on. But we see Lachlan there with the bright green crash helmet, getting back past Abdul Rahman and into 2nd place, where he'll hopefully be able, hopefully from his perspective, be able to chase down Hamda Al-Khabaisi, who was absolutely flying in the heat race. These two racing neck and neck for most of the season, and they're championship contenders. And yesterday they were absolutely inseparable. In fact, there was a move by Hamda into the final corner yesterday, which saw her cross the line in front, but on reviewing the footage, it was just a little bit too much. There was a little bit of contact, and the positions were reversed. So Hamda will be looking for revenge, but Lachlan putting a move on into the left-hand hairpin. Good driving from Hamda there. She anticipated that one, allowed him to come through, and that meant that he had a very, very tight line into the right-hand hairpin, which compromised his momentum, and Hamda slipped right through again. So that's the order as we go into yet another lap. Who's that ugly person on the screen? We don't need to see him. Can we transfer to the action? There, so that's much better. No one needs to see that. Right, so Hamda and Lachlan flying up the hill. Now we've seen as a result of those two fighting that we've got a number of other drivers also involved at the front of the field. Abdulrahman Frej we already mentioned. Just try to get some information on the drivers behind. Now, if Hamda and Lachlan don't hold each other up, they may well start to pull away from the chasing pack, because that's what we've seen this weekend. Abdulrahman doing a good job just to stay in contention. Just a bit of a shout out to our next category on the circuit. That's going to be DD2. If you're not already on the grid, we need to be getting ready right now. Through they go again then, Hamda and Lachlan. You can see the gap that they've just started to pull out over the 3rd, 4th and 5th place drivers. We've mentioned already, 3rd place is Abdulrahman Frej. Here we go. It's Jacopo Mazza that's chasing him down, and Vinay D'Souza that's had a good start for the first time this weekend, and he's showing very, very good pace in the early stages of the Max pre-final. Another sweeping view of the Muscat Speedway circuit. Looks really, really impressive. And there's a hell of a lot of altitude changes that go around, lots of elevation changes. We're on a relatively flat part down the straight as Hamda Al-Kubaisi leads Lachlan Robinson across the line to complete lap number 5. And both of them identical in terms of the lap times. You can see how close they are on the circuit. This is a dip down the hill around turns 1 and 2 and into a banked bowl section before they head left sharp up the hill. And you can sort of get an idea of the changes from that previous drone view. They fly around a very, very fast double right-hander into a short straight. And here comes Lachlan Robinson, just enough room. And Hamda again saw him coming. And he's done it in a different position this time, which should mean that he's able to defend to the next corner as well. This is the final corner of the lap. And just making sure he's got track position there. And this is playing into the hands of Abdulrahman. Hamda's been mighty quick at the end of the straight so far today, and Lachlan knows that, and taking a defensive inside line. This is allowing Abdulrahman to keep pace, just about keep pace with the lead 2 here. And Jacopo Mazza doing a good job as well to keep Abdulrahman in his sights, with Vinay D'Souza just behind. And that's our top 5, but we've got actually a decent grid of Max drivers here this weekend, and we'll just talk you through them. Just behind Vinay, we've got Oleg Kazakov. He had a great race in the heat, been very, very fast all day today, and he's looking to improve on that 6th place that he's carrying at the moment. He's got Dylan Olsen just behind him, driver number 316. In fact, pretty close after that. And we've seen Lachlan Robinson in the meantime, as I was looking at my driver notes, drop down 2 seconds again as Hamda Al-Kubaisi takes on the race lead. Abdulrahman Frej right there with them. Abdulrahman, I believe, hailing from Jordan and committed to all of the rounds of the UAE and Oman Rotax Max Challenge. Hamda Al-Kubaisi once again ahead of Lachlan Robinson, then into the final corner of the lap. So Lachlan, as she's got the jump on Lachlan a little bit there with Abdulrahman following. We'll go back to some of our other drivers further down the order. We've got Mohamed Gorbanpour, he's following behind Mehbod Shamali, another 2 Iranian drivers. Some good support from Iran this weekend. Just ahead of those 2, Dennis Cole chasing down his friend and rival, Dylan Olsen. And just at the back, Hemel Dave, a local-based driver again here from Oman in Muscat, actually. And he is competing in just his 2nd national championship race. Well, things have settled down at the front. You can see Hamda Al-Khabaisi, and this is actually quite a large gap that she's managed to eke out ahead of Lachlan Robinson. The 2 of them often much, much closer. And the fastest lap of the race on the last lap to our race leader as Lachlan tries to give chase. 42.8 for her. There we can see a few clowns in the, a few serious racing drivers in the DD2 category on the pit wall. That was Blueberry Racing drivers from left to right. Maurizio Colombo, he had his helmet on. Actually, he looks a lot better with that on. Unfortunately, the 2 drivers to his right, Gianluca Olmosi and Dario Rubio, did not have their helmets on. Here they are. They don't know what I've said, so I can't get in trouble until they watch the live streaming back later. Well, Hamda Al-Khabaisi going from strength to strength at the front. She's gone even quicker this time, a 42.774. And even Lachlan Robinson cannot match that. And she's looking very, very strong with just under 4 laps. So we're coming up to 3 laps remaining of the Max pre-final. So interesting and great to see Abdulrahman Frage putting some pressure on Lachlan Robinson. Abdulrahman still holding on to 3rd place, and only a 2nd behind him, Jacopo. Vinay just losing touch with Jacopo a little bit. You can see 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th in the same section of the track. But Hamda with quite a convincing gap now ahead of Lachlan. Well, if you want to add to the feedback that's going out around the world, if you've got any friends and family that you'd like to say hello to, if you've got my mobile number, you can send me a WhatsApp, but I'm not going to announce that online. Or you can just come up and let me know that mum or dad or nanny and granddad are watching, and we'll certainly say a big hello from you and pass on any non-rude messages. We'll try and get around to have a few interviews with the drivers as well before we start the finals. While they're nervous, sometimes when they come in after the final, they are quite unpredictable with what comes out of their mouths, so we might have to limit the interviews later on. Back to the action then. I've just been following the live timing on the live timing link. And Hamda Al-Khabaisi now with what you would say, as she takes the last lap board, an unassailable lead, providing she doesn't encounter any technical difficulties. Here she comes. Just a matter of seconds left now in this race. And we're seeing how close some of the other drivers are. We know Lachlan has Abdulrahman within a 2nd of him. That 2nd and 3rd place is there. Oleg has actually, in fact, Vinay losing a couple of places here. As Oleg and Dylan have passed them. So Oleg moving up to 4th place. Then checkered flag is out. Hamda Al-Khabaisi with a confident win in the pre-final. And that's going to give Lachlan some work to do if he's going to challenge her pace for the final. Lachlan finishing in 2nd, a great drive from Abdulrahman, finishing within 6/10 of the reigning Junior Max champion. That's Lachlan Robinson. He's now up to senior, but Abdulrahman managing to push him all the way to the line, finishing in 3rd place. A few seconds behind them in the end, and obviously something's happened to Jacopo as well. That's a shame. I didn't know if that's something between Vinay and Jacopo. I don't think so. I think Jacopo probably because he was on his own when we saw him. So maybe he's had a technical problem and he's retired from the race. And all of that means that Oleg Kazakov is promoted to 4th. Well, you've got to be in it to win it. He's completed full race distance, and that should mean, barring any penalties, he'll get to start on the outside of the 2nd row. Dylan Olsen, 5th. Vinay D'Souza in 6th. Dennis Cole completing full race distance in 7th, but only just by less than 1/10 of a second from Merbod Shamili. That was for 8th position. In 9th, Mohamed Gorbanpour, and crossing the line in 10th, Hemel Dave. And we saw Jacopo sadly retiring from a very strong 4th position, and that means he's going to have to start from the back in the final. At least he's going to be in it. Showing some very good pace, Jacopo, and it's a longer final for the seniors, 18 laps. So just under 20 kilometres for them a little bit later. Again, a nice view of the drone coming into the main start-finish straight here and overlooking the pit lane at Muscat Speedway. We can see the drivers in the DD2 category. Now, a little bit of a shout about some of these drivers. Some of them are very entertaining when they drive. And we have 2 classes here, all running effectively under the same rules, just at different stages of their careers. We have DD2 and DD2 Master. So if you're watching from home, the way you can distinguish them is that the regular DD2 category tend to be younger, lighter and sprightlier, have numbers starting 4, they're between 400 and 499, whereas the slightly more robust or chunky, old and decrepit DD2 Masters drivers start with a 5, so 500 to 599. But it's good that some of the veterans amongst the group are still competing at or towards the front of the field. We had a very close fight in DD2 in the heat race. Kyle Kumaran will start the pre-final on pole position by virtue of a win in the heat ahead of Jacob Robinson, yesterday's winner, Jacob Robinson. Both of these drivers highly competitive, very skilled and very fast, from the same team. So we saw some great racing and fair racing yesterday and earlier on. We hope that they're going to demonstrate that for you at home today. Lining up behind them, I believe, I haven't got the grids in front of me, but by the looks of things, it's Hugo Gid in 3rd place. And the first of our DD2 Masters drivers in 4th, Tony Hogg, leading the championship in DD2 Masters, and has driven very, very well throughout the weekend, but he'll have one eye on the row behind him. Hussein Umid Ali on the inside of row 3. No, he's not. He's on the outside of row 3, which means that Marcus Marker is on the inside. So driver number 453, Marcus, used to live in Oman. This used to be his home track, now living in the UAE. And he's right in the thick of the DD2 Masters here on the inside of row 3. We've then got a couple of Blueberry Racing drivers, thankfully with their helmets on now. Gianluca Elmosi and Dario Rubio lining up alongside each other. Then local hero Salim Abdelatif, driver 590, who had one round of applause there when I shouted his name out. We've also got Greg Watt out there. Dan Jones missing from the grid. We hear he's hurt himself. I'm not sure if he's going to make it back for the final or not. There's been quite a bit of racing for these drivers over 2 days. We've also got Maurizio Colombo out there as well as the 3rd member of the Blueberry Racing team involved in this grid. So Carl Kumaran is the pole sitter with the responsibility of setting the pace on the formation lap, and the drivers now slowing down as they make their way to the final corner and around it. The idea is that they stay within the tram lines that you can see on the approach to the start. They are not supposed to go too quickly. The start line signal, which is overhanging the start line, showing red lights at the moment, and it's about to change as they come. The switch is gone. You can see immediately Gianluca Ramosi moving outside the tram lines, and a good start from Kyle Coumaran. Jacob Robinson managing to squeeze in front of Hugo Guid and secure his second place. So good start from the DD2s. Oh, it was. I just saw a Blueberry driver moving very slowly at the bottom of the hill. I don't know if that was a result of an incident or not. It was just off camera. And well, certainly it was good at the initial part. The drivers at the moment seeming to give each other enough room. It's a good overhead view on the drone, even though you can't identify who's who. I can tell you Kyle Coumaran and Jacob Robinson are the two drivers at the front. Here they come to complete lap number 1. A bit of a shout out in the car park, in the paddock area, to our Minimax drivers. You'll be next on the TV according to the schedule. Our Minimax pre-final will follow this one. So whatever drama there was at turn numbers 3 and 4 on the first lap has cleared in time for the leaders as they come round. So Kyle and Jacob, these two outrageously quick yesterday. It's a fight between themselves really at the front. The two of them, again, inseparable, but Jacob just seeming to have the edge, just out-qualified Kyle at the beginning of the day and brought it home just in front of him. Yesterday was Jacob's day. Can today be Kyle's? Well, Jacob turns 18 today, apparently, 18 years of age. He'll be wanting to celebrate that birthday with a double win, but Kyle will be seeking to prevent that from happening. These two, again, championship contenders, very strong championship contenders in the overall DD2 category. So sitting in the driver's enclosure here with a good view of the live streaming screen, getting the feed in front of me, sitting in amongst some of the drivers. You can see Fahad Arawahi, who didn't manage to finish the Micromax pre-final, but he's... No, okay. So Adam Jones, driver number 50 in Micromax, assuring me that he's in it. So the senior officials, supported by the track cameras now. Kyle resisting the pressure, but Jacob going along with him as these two pull away from the chasing pack. Hugo is holding third. Marcus has had a good start, moving into fourth and ahead of Tony. So Hugo, Marcus, Tony, very, very close together. Tony Hogg, let's not forget, in fifth place, but leading the DD2 Masters category. And he has a couple of seconds advantage over Hussein Umid Ali, who's running 6th overall, second in class. And Salim Abdulatif has had a great start to the out of 14. So, right at the first corner, down the hill, quite a steep drop, and then a flat out left into a flat out right that tightens sharply into an uphill section. Left and then hard uphill, the steepest gradient there on an uphill section. They continue to just gently rise round a series of flat out right-hand corners, and then a straight into hard braking, a left-hand hairpin, very tight right-hand technical section and into the back straight. And I was talking about it, Kyle's already finished that. And that is another lap complete, 6 so far. So once again, as we follow the action on the live timing, I'll just bring you up to speed with the pictures. It's Kyle Coumaran completing lap number 7 in the race lead ahead of Jacob Robinson. They have a just over 2-second advantage over third place. You just saw third, fourth and fifth at the bottom of then the heat race, but he was very... Just behind Lucas, Maurizio opening lap. That must have been Dario Rubio, who retired actually before completing lap number 1, so out of the race. And we're missing Daniel Jones from this one. So the fastest lap of the race has been set by our race leader. It was a few laps ago, 42.208. And setting the pace and controlling this one. Jacob Robinson, though, having a look over his shoulder. He doesn't need to try too hard in this one. Maybe he can just afford to coast a little bit, where otherwise he'd be pushing, save those tyres for a push in the final. He's certainly got a decent advantage over everybody else right now. So they're on lap 10 of 14. We're here at Muscat Speedway on their national circuit configuration. And this is the pre-final. We've got plenty of racing to come. This is round 6 of the UAE Rotax Max Challenge. Oh, and we've got a red flag. And we see a stationary car on the outside of the final corner. So the senior officials seeing fit to stop this race. Now, whatever's happened, if it's a red flag, it could be potentially serious. So the senior officials do not hesitate to stop the race, and that will enable all the drivers doing the right thing. Carl Kuma ran the first person round to the start line as the leader, but all of them ceasing racing immediately. They've got a hand in the air, they slowed right down, no overtaking, and pulling up to the start line. All of the drivers being very well behaved at the moment, staying in their carts. And they need to await some instruction from the senior officials. So if there is a potential incident out there, the senior officials will be working to get some emergency crew on the scene just to check on the condition of the driver or drivers involved. So, if you're just joining us, we have, we're in the middle of, or nearing the end of the DD2 and DD2 Masters pre-final. And we've had an incident that has seen the senior officials stop the race so that they can deal with it, rather than letting the race continue and dealing with it at the end. All of the drivers that were racing are now safely lined up on the starting grid, while the senior officials deal with the incident. I'll bring you some news on that. From the camera angle, I can't see exactly who's lined up on the grid. Ah, yeah, there we go. So they're just getting out now. I cannot see. Just move to the giving the drivers water and less express. Agree, this drivers. If you're listening, Kamal reckons if he had one more lap, he would have taken you. So that's fighting talk, and we'll see in the final, because he'll have some extra laps there. Right, here's the camera pestering me from Canada, where he's stuck without his papers. I did announce during your race that you were doing much better without him here, and he seems to disagree. So I want your take on the matter.
Honestly, I don't think I'm doing better without him. I just...
Hang on a second. Think about the question, yeah? I don't want him getting information back home. Hi, Dad. Oh, hi, Mum. So you don't think you're doing better without him here?
Yeah, I think just me, I improved and I'm more calm and I'm like driving better on the track and quicker. So I don't think he's like doing anything to make me not do good on the track.
No, I think you're right. So let me get this right. Today, you're driving faster, you're calmer, you're more focused than at any other time you've been at a race meeting. And he's been at all your other race meetings, but not at this one. And you don't see that there's a coincidence?
No.
No, okay, so there you go. That's proper love for you there, Ronald. Great, Georgie, thanks. Nadim, come over here. Where did Kamal sneak off to? He's got away. I'll get him later on. Right, Nadim, you had a good race. I was talking about you, okay? Oh, come on. You're much more attractive than I am. Make sure you're looking over that direction. You can look at me if you like. You were racing very, very hard with at least one more driver. Tell us about it.
So I didn't make a move, so I was just standing back.
You didn't make a move, but you're out there racing, right? Why didn't you make a move? So you were racing, but there was a couple of overtakes there. It was you and Anshul, right? Anshul Gandhi. You were exchanging positions quite fairly during that race. If you get an opportunity in the final, you're going to go for it?
Yeah, of course.
All right, okay, we hope to see that. Right, there's a load of people looking like they want to get on camera. Oh, you suddenly dived away. Come on, Darshan, I was talking about you. The viewers at home an idea of what you think of the racing, the event, the championship, all of these things.
I mean, I really had intense battle with Chris.
Where's Christian? Christian? Darshan said that you didn't leave any room. All right, he's eating Subway. Okay, yeah, okay, okay. Well, it looked to me it was very close, but you didn't have an opportunity really to get past him, yeah?
Well, in the pre-finals I overtook, but like he squeezed me too much. But we bumped, and I managed to go ahead of him.
Okay, this is good information. So you made contact, and because of that contact, you managed to gain an advantage. Okay, that's interesting.
But then he gave me a room, and we bumped again at the side, and so he won the.
Okay, so both moves involved some contact, but karting bowled off, and then Christian gained advantage through contact. It wasn't told off. So we need to address the senior officials. They need to really improve their game out there, don't they?
Yeah, really.
Don't hold it against him. It's in his mouth. Right, who else have we got? Yeah, come on. You, Evan, you don't like your name being mentioned on the microphone, but you're hanging around. Janelle, do you want to come and talk to us? Okay. Lachlan Robinson. Lachlan, come on. Come on. Right. Fahad Arawahi's high. Evan, correct. It's your second race meeting. So excited. You had your first day yesterday. How are you feeling now?
I'm a bit nervous.
Bit nervous. You've got the final coming up. We've got cameras on you.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about what happened in the pre-final, because you told me, but we didn't let everyone else know.
I had a crash.
Oh. But you're still in one piece. You visited the medical centre and they said that you're okay. They've given you a clean bill of health to compete in the final, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, and there were some other drivers involved in the incident, weren't there? Who were they?
Eamon and Shivali.
Eamon and Shivali. And have you checked that they're okay as well?
Yeah.
So you're all going to be back out on track in the final?
Probably.
Probably. If they can fix your karts, right? How are the mechanics doing on that?
Good, they're almost done.
How's your dad doing this weekend as a mechanic for you and your big bro?
Good.
I think he's been doing fantastically well, actually. Has Mum been helping him?
No.
That's not true. Mum, you've been doing the hard work. We've seen you running around. She's been looking after you while Dad's been sweating over the car.
Yeah, tiny bit.
Yeah, okay. Give her a little bit of a commendation. So we see the D2 drivers still being kept on track at the moment. So obviously some precautions being taken. You want to come? Oh, Kamal. We only heard your voice earlier. Come, we didn't see your face. Thanks, Evan. Good luck in the final. Kamal, stop being so scared. You have to stand on the podium later on. Here. So this is what Kamal looks like. You heard his voice earlier on. We haven't got him on the live feed. Oh, you're lucky. I don't know, but here we go. Right, Kamal Agho, everybody. Second place, runner-up in the pre-final. And remind everyone of what you said about your race with Khalid.
It was a close race to the end. If I had like one more lap, I probably could have got Khalid.
Excellent. That's exactly what he said. And we're going to see these two racing for a little bit longer in the final in a little bit. Now, tell us a little bit more about the championship, Kamal, because Mum always tells us you really like talking about karting as much as possible. You never get to express this to a worldwide audience, and now you have one.
Well, the champion hasn't gone too well so far. I've had a bit of unluck. Not much luck on my side with penalties.
Penalties? Oh dear. But obviously they're justified penalties, but you're still doing well in the championship, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Any penalties yesterday?
No.
Any penalties today?
No.
Not yet?
No.
We're hoping for no more, yeah? Okay, thanks very much, Kamal. So we've got some action on the track now. Thank you very much, all of you that contributed towards those interviews. Just filled in the time a little bit. We'll get you next time, Alicia. And I'll try and get some information, and then we'll be back with you as to whether we're going to continue this race or call it a result and move on to the next one, ladies and gentlemen at home. Okay, so we're just hearing some news from the DD2 race, and we're now out there with Mini Max. They're on their formation lap, and just to bring you up to speed, the senior officials, along with a unanimous consensus from the drivers in the DD2 category, the result will be called at that point. We were 9 laps into the race, and it was 14 laps, so that pre-final will be called, and the results will be published according to the finishing positions of the last full lap before the red flag was shown. This is according to the regulations of the championship. We learned that it was actually driver 590, Salim Abdelatif, local hero, who was running very strongly actually. We commentated on him running third in class. He was about 7th overall in the standings at the time of the incident. Apparently he's had quite a heavy impact, and he's now being treated in the clinic. Obviously precautionary, we need to stop the race and make sure that driver's safety is paramount. So he's now being treated. Possible broken collarbone, but we're going to get some feedback on that. And Minimax have been very, very close all weekend. So let me bring you up to speed now. We've completed one lap, we're on lap 2. So it's William Wade, driver 116, leading driver number 103, Zach Schooler. Those two first and second as we speak. They're coming onto the back straight and up to the final corner with Alex Renner hot on their tail. So that's first, second and third across the line as they come round to complete lap number 2. Harry Hannum moving past Danny Shields into 4th place on the last lap, and Alicia and Zaid are 6th and 7th. Now the top 3 seem to be just stretching away. Normally at least 5 or 6 of the Minimax drivers in close contention, and Harry and Danny will be really trying to ensure that the 3 of these guys don't get away and clear. Now what can happen, especially in these more restricted formulas, is that if drivers work together, and we see a good move from Alex Renner there, as Zach sort of half defended, compromised his exit speed, but he's just had enough to defend 2nd place against a hard charging Alex. That's let Williams squeeze away at the front just by a couple of kart lengths, and it's also, crucially, allowed Harry to catch up, and Danny just behind. So as I was saying, in these more restricted formula, the slipstream effect really comes into it, which means if you are working together or you're following closely with another kart, you cut down the frontal air resistance, you can actually move quicker. You benefit from what's called a toe in the straight lines, particularly towards the end of the straight. So if two drivers decide that they want to work together to catch another one, they should be able to manage it. But if, on the other hand, they get caught up fighting with each other, which is exactly what we're seeing at the moment, it can allow another driver to pull away, that's William Wade, or another one behind to catch up, and that's Harry Hannum. So Zach and Alex need to just think about this a little bit. Are they fighting for second, or are they going to keep themselves in the mix for first? And they have to make that decision quickly before William gets too much of an advantage. Hugo, who's your favourite Minimax driver?
Well, I've got 2 favorites, William Wade and Zach Schooler.
Wow, what a team player you are. Just happens to be in the same team, Hugo. All right, very good, well answered. Hugo, one of our front runners in DD2. We saw him on track just now. He's just tucking into a nice, nutritious, very healthy burger before his final. Nutrition very important, as we know, as a professional competitor in motor racing. So here we go, and well, Zach, Harry's definitely caught up with Alex. Alex is just about hanging on to Zach, but William's still with a nice advantage. Now we had a whole load of mums clucking around the live streaming feed, and they've all disappeared now because they've gone to hide under the blanket, behind a corner, bite their nails, look from behind their fingers, while sons and daughters are out there doing their thing. So this is interesting. Zach does look like he's, and he's not really working with Alex, but he does look like he's catching William. Sometimes it is easier when you've got a target in front. It is easier to follow than it is to lead. And Zach definitely looks like he is cutting the advantage to William at the front. I'll have a quick look at the lap times just to see. So William leading. William leading, Zach in second. The gap is just 0.6 of a second. Well, not much in the lap times, but I can tell you that Zach was 1/10 of a second faster than William on that last lap. That was lap 7, and they've got 13 laps, so they're just over half race distance now. The fastest lap of the race has been set by Harry Hannum. He's down in 4th place, and it's just a shame that just after the first couple of laps, Danny just got detached from the front group, and it's been hard. This will be interesting. Alex and Harry both qualified for the grand finals in Micro Max last year, and they're on lap 8, 45.665. He's just 1.5 seconds behind the race lead. All he can at the moment, and all he needs to do, he's keeping that gap just about, very, very similar times, but he's keeping that gap up to about 0.6 of a second. Here they come again. Let's see if it's changed. It's down to 0.5, so Zach marginally quicker. Half a second between the front two, and Harry just 0.3 of a second behind Alex. And these two need to either work together or well, they'll be thinking about this race, but they all may also have one. They want to also suss out their competition. At the moment, and William may start to change his line soon and get a little bit defensive. It looks like it's between these two because the gap is such that Alex has now got defence on his mind with Harry Hannum just behind him. He sees Zach's a lot closer, but also we did see yesterday 2 drivers, only the pre-final, no need to do anything too drastic. Zach, not quite that sequence has seen. He's done well to resist the pressure. Zach doing very well to get close. And Alex, Harry and Danny got to put their thinking caps on a little bit. It was Zach with the fastest lap of the race in the end. He got that on the penultimate lap of 45.662. But look at this, 45.6 for William, 45.6 for Zach, 45.7 for Alex, 45.6 for Harry. So all 4 of them, it's anybody's race. And we saw Danny's been in the mix yesterday. Just dropped off a little bit there. Let's hope the team can give him something to work with for the final and get him right up there as well. We haven't mentioned much about them, but a good performance again from Alicia Knisser, managing to finish in 6th ahead of Zaid. So that is our Mini-Max pre-final done. Next session on track is going to be Bambino. Now the Bambinos were very late to the grid last time, but as soon as you mention TV, cameras and advertising, you can tell they're going to be involved in motorsport. They're all there waiting with their helmets polished, their teeth gleaming. I wish I could say the same about their parents. So let me tell you a little bit about what we've got going on in our Bambino category. Well, first of all, these are drivers, despite their tender age, very, very competitive and quite capable. But because of their young years, they're unable to get themselves a racing license. If they had a racing license, they would be out there with some of the classes that you've just seen. So these 4 drivers, they're going to be out 2 more times today. They've had 2 time trials ready this morning. This will be time trial number 3. And that noise means engines are starting. They're going to be heading out one at a time. We've got driver number 3 heading out first. This is a random order, but it's different every time, so it's fair for them. Chanel Kunamal out onto the track first. The second driver out is a driver with number 10 on the cart. That's Leonidas Peruzzi. And we've got Adam Awan with cart number 1. Well, number 1 on his cart. He's heading out third. And last but certainly not least, with the number 7 on his cart, Zach Sowerby. So these 4 drivers in the Bambino category today. And their aim is to get out there and set the quickest possible lap that they can. It's not a race. They don't need to overtake each other. They need to set the quickest possible lap they can in order to achieve maximum points for any misses. So all of the marshals and senior officials become a hazard when they get to licence holding age. Yourself, racers. Helped. But we will be going into the class finals, and I think we still should have time for a break on the track action. We're due to have a break at 1:35, and that should fit in quite nicely. I'll come back to you on that one. Both sit down, a little bit of a chat with anyone socially. He's far too much of a professional. For the UE Rotax Max Challenge.
I only get invited very few occasions when nobody else is available.
Right, okay. Well, I think you've moved yourself up the pecking order this weekend. Gordon, we're due to have a break according to the schedule just when the Bambinos finish. Are we going to stick to the break, or are you going to forge on ahead?
That's up to you as the organiser.
Oh, really? We're going to keep the break. Is that right?
That's correct.
And do you have to check all of your decisions with the new almighty karting genius of the universe, Mr. Dan Parker, that are going on? Oh, here's Mr. Dan Parker just trying to correct our clock of the course. Right, let's get back to the action on the Bambinos, everybody. We will be keeping the break in there. Just a quick break. And so we will resume the class finals from 1:50 as per the schedule. So again, for my around the world audience, when we organise national events, we always have parents coming and asking questions, the same question time after time after time, because they haven't been listening to the live broadcast, they haven't been listening to the briefing. And yes, there will be a break as per the schedule, 1:35 to 1:50. The Micromax will resume at 1:50 on track. Now at driver number 2. No. Hang on a minute. It's number 3. I do apologise. Currently the quickest driver on the circuit, but only by 0.4 of a second. Move that lap time in order to increase their championship. So we've just got 1 minute left on the clock. There's been no change in the fastest lap time since we last brought you up to speed. Zach Sowerby just heading past now. Trying his best, but no improvement this time. And with these, they're using Coma C50 engines. So for the tender age, they're quite fast enough, but these drivers now with plenty of laps under their belts just need to do everything to maximise the momentum. They're only down at sort of 2.5 to 3 horsepower, although they are very light, even with the drivers in them. So with that limited amount of power on offer, the drivers need to be very, very smooth around the circuit, limit the momentum loss around the corners, and hope that that's enough to get round quicker than everybody else. So the second quite, he stays fourth. What about Adam? Adam crossing the line? No, he was nowhere near is guaranteed to be the quickest driver in that session. It was very, very close though. That is the closest time trial we've had between these 4 drivers all weekend. So good stuff from them, and they will have one more chance to impress you guys and girls at home at the end of the class finals. As Chanel crosses the line, the class finals should start around about 1:50 local time. Okay, if you're following along at home, that's in around 15 minutes. And we're due to finish at just before 3:45 in the afternoon. We suggest that you Micro Max drivers, you get yourselves over to the service park to collect your fuel tanks and get yourselves onto the grid. We're going to be letting you onto the track at 1:50 sharp. So 10 to 2, you'll be on the track. So the fuel bay is open. If you want to come anytime from 22, you can start getting organised and you'll be on track for your 14-lap final at 1:50. After the Micro Max, we look to our Junior Max category. They'll be on track for quite a long final, 18 laps, just short of 20 kilometres. And then we have the same distance for our Max and DD2 categories. And for Mini Max, not quite as long as the senior categories. Last but not least, we'll have the Bambino time trials, the last time trial of the day before the trophy presentation. Okay, so we're going to sign off with the live streaming for the next almost 10 minutes. We'll be back with you with the track action at 1:50 p.m. Thank you to those of you that were willing to do interviews. There's another opportunity for that throughout the finals. Just make yourselves known to me.